Immigration agents could soon have a new tool to protect themselves from violent attacks and also more safely subdue the suspects. The Department of Homeland Security plans to begin using non-lethal electric shock gloves.
When I scream like a little girl and pee myself, go back with the gloves.
These shock gloves may soon be used by immigration and customs enforcement agents. ICE is planning to spend between $10 and $20 million to purchase the devices known as CTG5GLOVE, which stands for Generated Low Output Voltage Emitter, according to a notice published by the Department of Homeland Security. In example videos posted by the device manufacturer, Compliant Technologies, most individuals are seen falling to their knees after being touched with the gloves. The company markets the glove as a wearable de-escalation device that can be shifted into electrical mode, delivering a maximum voltage of up to 380 volts that, quote, distracts the subject from performing coordinated muscle movement. The manual states that no more than 2 gloves should be applied to a subject at one time and should not be used for more than 15 seconds in many instances. The company also warns the gloves should not be used as punishment or on high-risk individuals, including those who are pregnant, elderly, severely disabled, or children. The notice comes as ICE faces scrutiny over what critics say are aggressive and dangerous tactics, amid pressure from the Trump administration to make around 2,000 arrests daily. The devices would be delivered by March 2027, according to DHS.
It's just another tool in the tool belt of ICE officers who are under a 9,000% increase in death threats, an actual 1,400% increase in actual threats. So it's just another tool to help, those who don't want to be compliant, those who attack law enforcement officers, to bring them into compliance without using deadly force.
Shalom. First of all, I start by giving all glory on to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakakadash. Double honors that teaches us and the boss of great millstone, like wise brothers, putting out this truth. Faithfully, fearlessly feeding the sheep and 2 brothers and sisters tuning in. Shalom. Today's lesson's title, His Evil Transgressions. Let's take a look at the word transgression so you can get an idea of what we're talking about here. This is the AI overview. A transgression is an act that breaks a rule, law, or moral duty. It means going over a boundary or doing something you should not do. Now, Esau, the Edomite, the so-called white man, he has no boundaries. He's evil. He's wicked. Okay? So all of the transgressions against the children of Israel that this man brings, it's just his nature. Okay? Now you saw in that opening clip, okay, another tool being placed in the hand of law enforcement here in Great Babylon, America. And the question is, what kind of ruler create these policies, and what does the scripture say happen to the people living beneath them? Okay? And we're talking about so-called blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, and Hispanics. Okay? The true biblical Hebrew Israelites. Okay? Let's go into the book of Proverbs 29 and 12. And it reads, if a ruler hearkens to lies, all his servants are wicked. Okay? And we know that the Edomites, they go about speaking lies, from the womb, roughly paraphrasing here. Okay? They're all about pointing fingers, never taking accountability, never owning up to anything. When they're trapped and they're cornered, they play the victim even though they start the problem. And here it is right now again, this man, okay, now is going to put electric gloves in the hands of his ICE agents so that they can electrocute or shock Jakes into compliance. We can already see where this is just going to go really, really bad. Okay, let's go into Isaiah 10 and starting with verse 1. It reads, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. Okay, they're laws. Because all the laws that you see here in the United States, why there's so many revision of it, why there's so many thousands of it, these are snares. These are ways that they can go around, so to speak, to not look like they're racist or what their true agenda is, which is to destroy the children of Israel. So they come up with these new laws all the time. And when you look at who most likely would accidentally break these laws, if it's going to be so-called blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, and Hispanics, because we live in those conditions into where, you might not have the option. Okay? It says to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. So here it is. Okay? It's a culture of oppression. Okay? Once wicked thinking become policy, the servants underneath the ruler gets legal authority to carry it out. And this is the reason why you had Trump talking about the fact that he's not going to hold ICE agents accountable for anything, any type of death or anything like that. And you hear, what's the saying? You saw that red demon in the end. They're being attacked. They're being assaulted. Where's the proof? There's no proof, no evidence of that. All you see is videos of Jacob running for their lives, running. They're grabbing Jacob who are born here. So again, here are these people armed to the teeth, body armor, carrying multiple weapons, a baton, a taser, and now they have electric gloves that they're going to be wearing starting in March of 2027. Then now they can touch you and electrocute you. And you know what it says there, that they shouldn't be laying hands on anybody for more than 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Come on, the people that they're hiring in these jobs, in these positions, these undercover racist Edomites, okay, they're going to abuse this, and they know it. Okay, let's go into Deuteronomy 28 and 66, start with 66, because we always tell you, Jakes, until you get on the chariots, until Great Babylon America is destroyed, we remain under the curses. And one of those curses is this: and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. The so-called black man has to fear it, okay, because the so-called Negro is a primary target of the Edomites, the so-called white people. But you also have your Hispanics, Latinos, okay, Native Americans, who are now being viewed as aliens, illegals, okay. So just by definition of your physical appearance, your looks, you can be deemed an illegal, subject to being electrocuted, even if they let you go afterward. All right? And there's no Jakes that is exempt from this, even if you were doing well, financially or whatever the case is like that. And we always tell you, this financial joy that you're experiencing right now is going to come to an end real soon. We'll go into other lessons about that. But we already see the writing on the wall, so don't sit down there. Have your yourself pumped up because you might be in a financial stable situation. That's going to end soon. Okay, and at the end of the day, there's just going to be persecution after persecution after persecution. Unless you're protected by the Lord Yahweh Shai, you're going to be probably getting these electric gloves all over your body soon. Continuing says, in the morning thou shalt say, what power, it were even, and at even thou shalt say, what power, it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherein thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Okay, you see this animation I have, with the electric glove pulsating there, with the ICE agent looking at Jakes them in fear. Because it's no longer now having some weak racist Edomites grabbing you, trying to restrain you, which Jakes them are not, resisting. But if someone's twisting your arm, you're going to cry out. If they get your arms twisted behind your back, get a knee in your back, you're going to cry out and you're going to writ in pain. And that's what they apply those pressures so that you would do that, which would make you look like you're resisting. This is why they'll have their knee on your neck or your back. It's hurting. They'll twist your fingers and your wrists, and you're in pain. So what do? You move when you're in pain. And they'll go, stop resisting, stop resisting. They say that out loud so that it appears that you're resisting when in reality you're crying out in pain. And then they can electrocute you and apply that pressure, man. That's diabolical. Diabolical. Okay? But this is what we're living in. This is 2nd Ezra 16. That's how verse 70 reads, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So-called blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, and Hispanics. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Now, I want you to listen to that real carefully, because in that video, what did they say? Oh, there's rules against, deal with pregnant women and children and all the other stuff of that. You think they're going to care in the heat of the moment? They're not going to care. They're not. They're going to electrocute little young Jakes, little boys and girls. They're going to electrocute you women. If you haven't learned anything about this doggone man, there's no compassion in them. They're wicked. That's the reason why this lesson is titled, His Evil Transgression. There's no boundary that they're going to cross. And we're telling you this is a judgment, okay? 2/3 of our people is going to go. And this is one of the ways it's going to be. Okay? Through these detention camps, the sword, the firemen, because they can starve you. If they can't even feed the service members on board those aircraft carrier, which now there's a big thing going on about that, you think they're going to feed you inside those detention camps? And that's another lesson I can go into. We'll go into that a little bit later. In fact, let's go into the book of Matthew 5:25. Now, we currently tell Jakes nowadays, okay, for us to ourselves, because you have some feeling about it when somebody's accusing you of something that you didn't do, or, want to unjustly put their hands on you. And I can imagine how I would feel if one of these agents electrocute me with this glove in their hand like that. You're going to want to fight, okay? You're going to want to fight. But I have to remember what I teach. It says, agree with thy adversary quickly. This is coming from Yahushua himself. Whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary, which is the officers or the agents of today, deliver thee to the judge, which we know the judge is going to do what? Find you guilty. You assaulted an officer, or whatever the case is. You resisted arrest, and they got like about 20 charges against you. And the judge delivered thee to the officer, which is the bailman, who's going to take you to the prison, okay, or the corrections officer. And thou be cast into prison, where you will have a number and no rights at all, okay, which you don't have any rights right now, so to speak. So those are words of wisdom that came from Yahushua himself. Why? Because we're going to be coming in this time before he returns. We're going to be facing these type of things. This is the book of Psalms 94. And Psalm verse 20 reads, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? How could you get along with a tribe of people that use their laws to keep you bound down, keep your hands tied, while their hands are loose freely? They can hit you, but you can't hit them. They can beat you, but you can't beat them. They can kill you, but you can't kill them. Two can't walk together except they agree. We don't agree with none of Esau's ways. They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn their innocent blood. But the Lord, Yahweh Shemashah, is my defense, and my power is the rock of my refuge. So we're never going to be out there marching for equal rights and, what is it? No justice, no peace, and all that craziness like that. There's a vengeance coming on Esau, so he can have his way right now. We'll get into that real soon. And he shall bring upon them their own iniquity, and shall cut them off in their own wickedness. Yea, the Lord Yahweh Shemashah, our power, shall cut them off. And a lot of the people, these particular Edomites who, are trumpeters and who really hate us. I mean, they absolutely hate us. They're cheering this on. But what they don't understand is the Lord Yahweh Shemashah is going to have these centuries turn it on you, doggone Edomites. Or you don't know about the Egyptians against Egyptians, do you? This is going to go against you people too. See, Jakes, so-called blacks and Americans, Latinos, and Hispanics, we're like lab rats here in Great Babylon, America. They use us to experiment, and then they look and they see how the rest of you tribes react. And all of you sit in the corner. You get the Chinks, they don't give a shit. Nobody's bothering them in Chinatown. You get the Africans, they don't care. Nobody's bothering them in Africa town. The Russians, the British, all the other tribes that are here, the East Indians, the Middle Easterns over here, they don't care because they don't think our problem is going to become their problem. But it is, pursuant to Deuteronomy 30 and 7. And it's going to happen right in this lifetime right now, even before we go in the chariots and before the heavenly kingdom. Let's go to the book of Revelation 13:10. It reads, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the fate of the saints. When you put our people in detention centers, and they're going after everybody, so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Americans, and throwing them in detention centers. Horrible conditions. That is captivity. That is captivity. What do you think we're going to do to you Edomites in the kingdom of heaven? Yeah, I want you to think on that. So this has been His Evil Transgressions. You can't get more diabolical, but this is Esau speaking about, and there's more to come. Lord willing, let us edify, let close by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Rakakadash. Shalom.